My name is Chirag. I'm currently a PGP2 student at IIM Ahmedabad. Born and brought up in Kolkata. My life can be summed up in these four pitches. I did my schooling from Don Bosco School in Kolkata. Went on to do my graduation in BCom honors from SRCC New Delhi. Post my graduation, I worked at DE Shaw and Company as an associate in the financial research department. Uh, and then after having worked for roughly 1.5 to 2 years, I joined IIM Ahmedabad as a PGP2 student in their flagship PGP program. A, a, a quote that I hold really dearly to me has been mentioned here: to have a warm heart, a cool mind, and have dirty hands. Something that I really look forward to in any endeavor that I undertake. So a lot of you had like posted questions asking about me, my profile, and what is my background like. So just to give you a brief about myself, I'm an All India rank holder in CS examinations, scoring an All India rank 6. I scored an All India rank 7 in my class 12 board examinations. I'm a qualified company secretary. I have cleared 2 levels of the chartered accountancy program, and I'm a CFA level 2 candidate, along with being an MBA candidate at IIM Ahmedabad. Few question answers that I wanted to discuss before we jump on to CAT, because they were pertaining specifically to me, and I just wanted to put that aside before we jump on to CAT. And just to give you a good sense more about me and how my background is like. So what were your academics? I think I've already discussed that. So there's a very interesting question which someone asked, since some of you might be aware that my elder brother, Swayam Tibrewal, is also doing his MBA from IIM Bangalore. One question that you guys have asked is, did you and your brother prepare together? Yes, so we did prepare together. And if yes, then what did you learn from each other? So there are few synergies that you need to understand, wherein A plus B happens to be more than A plus B. When you sum A, you sum B, the total sum is bigger than the individual components. So my brother is quite adept in quant section of that, while I was quite good at Lrdi. So what we used to do is that we used to benchmark our scores accordingly, and we used to kind of have this competitive environment going around, wherein I used to sort of push him to score well in Lrdi, and he used to push me to score well in quant. And that is how I think we sort of complemented each other in terms of how we pursued things. Why did you not join SPJIMR and instead attempted CAT again? So I sort of had a call from SPJIMR in 2017, but I did not opt for that. I instead went for going for CAT again in 2018. The primary reason for doing that is because I did not take CAT 2017 very seriously, and I was very confident kind of that, if I prepare well, I will probably be able to do justice to myself, given that I had a strong background in academically and both like professionally also. Given that I had work ex of 1.5 years, I realized that probably SPGen is a good option, but something that I was not very sure, because I did not give CAT very seriously in my first attempt, and I wanted to give a real good go at CAT before joining my DE school. Again, one more thing that I considered in 2017 when I gave CAT and scored roughly 97 percentile was that I was not very certain about MBA per se as such, because I was more inclined towards CA at that point of time. I had just taken a job. I was just 6 months into my job. Was it a very good decision? I did not want to make very impromptu choices. So that is why I took CAT again in 2018, and then I joined IIM Ahmedabad. Did you ever feel lost, off track, or overwhelmed during your preparation? All the time. There will be times when you will feel lost, you will feel off track, and you will feel overwhelmed by the examination or by the score that others are getting. I think if one is not experiencing that, one is either a genius or something is not right. I did experience that a lot of times. But the important question is, how did you deal with the pressure of preparing for an exam like that? Personally speaking, I did not experience much pressure because of my habit of giving many exams. So I sort of, as I already mentioned, I've undertaken a lot of professional courses. I have undertaken a certification in securities markets by NSE. So I tend to have a habit of giving exams very often. That sort of helps me in coping with the preparation or the pressure that one might face while preparing for an exam like that. But I more than that, I enjoyed CAT because the curriculum was such that I did not used to put in hours of mugging things up, revising stuff, because I knew that what all I need to do is apply my mind for a period of 3 hours. So I think that is how I used to like kind of deal with pressure. But I think this topic is something that we will try to cover up later on also. And finally, how has life changed for you since you entered IIM Ahmedabad? I think it has changed in a manner that I have met more intelligent people in the last 1 year than I met in probably the last 22 years of my life. And that is something really extraordinary. I think the batch, the quality of students that you meet, the quality of people that you meet inside your campus is astounding. Uh, Coming from a background where I was kind of used to being in the top two, top three students in my school and not even my class, I found it very difficult to, not be even the top 10 in my section itself. So that is something that you kind of tend to take from IIM. You learn to be a lot more humble. You learn to be a lot more understanding and not just board things for yourself only. So I think these are the few things that I learned while my stay of around 1 year, few months at IIM. And that is how life has changed primarily. Moving on, I think since we're done with the personal stuff, now let's move on to what are the main objectives from this session and why are we here. There are 4 pointers that I want to cover, and I don't want to make it a very laborious kind of a session wherein we are just talking about Gyan and stuff. I want you guys to take some value addition from this. So there are 4 pillars that I kind of want to structure this entire session in. The first one is, what is the purpose behind an exam like CAT? Because if you understand why CAT is undertaken, you will probably understand on how to attempt it. Most of the times, the students that I have talked to, they're not very certain of what is the purpose behind CAT. What the second pillar is, what are the targets for CAT 2020 and how would you achieve those targets? A quick run through of CAT 2018, wherein I'll just give you a brief idea of what my planning strategy was, how I went about attempting each section, not much in detail because that will not be much use to you, but I'll share a few tricks and tips that I have for all of you guys that can come very handy while you attempt CAT 2020. And some post-CAT dilemma, because people tend to, often ask, yeah, should I even give CAT? मतलब CAT देने से फायदा क्या होगा? Is that a question worth answering right now or not? We'll see that. But moving on, let's come to our first objective. Our first objective states, what is the purpose behind an exam like CAT? I think we can have few responses on chat. I think people on from the InsideIIM team will revert to me with regard to the responses that we are getting from you guys who are attending the session, and I want to keep it as interactive as possible. So what do you think would be the purpose behind a CAT exam? And I hope everyone knows the full form of CAT. It is Common Admission Test. It is not Common Aptitude Test. It is not XYZ. So what would be the purpose behind an exam like that, apart from getting admission into your dream B school? Cool. While your responses are coming in, there are a few responses that I have usually got through my interaction with students with whom I kind of maintain frequent touch with, who are preparing for CAT both this year and who prepared for CAT last year. So the 3 main pillars that they answer me about the purpose are, number 1 is knowledge. CAT is an exam where you test someone's knowledge of how much they know about English, how much they know about maths, how much they know about your logical reasoning, etc., etc. The second and the most common answer is aptitude, where they say, they test what is your aptitude level like, are you good or are you bad? And what is your competency in math? Because a good portion of the CAT exam is devoted to math and few concepts which are used in math. Might not be something as pure mathematics standpoint like derivatives or trigo kind of question, but there is some amount of math involved in a in an exam like that. But all these three purposes are wrong. This is not how or why CAT is. The three reasons why CAT is conducted is number one is decision making, number two is time management, and number three is for logical coherence. And what do you mean by this? See, the first reason or the primary reason that any B school wants from a candidate is that how are their decision making skills like? Because what you guys are going to do post your B school is going to make decisions that is going to impact organizations, that is going to impact the long-term future of your organization. And the one thing that they want to test through CAT is how is your decision making. This section is on your face given in ZAT, wherein you have a decision making section. But in CAT, it is present in not very extrinsically, but very intrinsically in different parts of your CAT taking exercise. So just to give you a brief idea, the type of questions that you attempt, the questions that you leave, how you attempt those questions, how you manage your aptitude versus the questions that you're aware of, the questions you're not aware of. You are constantly making decisions in CAT because no one, trust me, no one attempts 100 out of 100 questions in CAT. And if they do, they don't end up being a 100 percentiler. I know few 100 percentilers who have attempted 85, 88, even 92 questions, but none have attempted 100 out of 100. The second thing that they ask is, what is your time management skills like? Because CAT, I think if you give it to a kid who is studying in class 12 and you give them like 10 hours to solve a CAT paper, they will easily solve it. But the problem here is time, because time is limited. Questions are limited, but they kind of tend to overpower the time that is available with you. And what they primarily look for is how well can you manage your time. And the third and the final thing is, how logically are you able to form your answer? Do you go stepwise? Do you think of A first, then D next, then F next, then X? No, you need to think logically in a proper structured manner. A, B, C, D, E. A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D. If you understand that these are the three things that any B school is wanting from its student, I think these are the things that you should keep in mind while attempting that. So don't kind of, have this idea that people are testing your knowledge, people are testing your aptitude. No, they're not. So just don't feel like, oh, I'm good at this topic, I need to attempt this question. Please don't, because that is not the purpose. So while we are on it, I think there are a few questions which are coming in on chat. I'll just take one of them. There's a question which says that, could you please share your mock analysis approach or strategy in detail? I think we'll take that up. I have been scoring around 65 percentile. What is the best strategy for improvement? How many mocks to give from now? Okay, we'll touch that upon later. I have that prepared. And I think questions are more pertaining to your mock scores and you not being very good in one or two sections pertaining to that. So we'll take that up. Don't worry. We will take that up. But just to give you a brief overview on what CAT is like. One very important thing that I want all of you to keep in mind is the Pareto Principle. I hope many of you are aware. Just remember that 20% of the questions in CAT. So if this year CAT has close around 70 questions, 20%, 14 questions, or roughly around 14 to 20 questions will be such questions which will take a good portion of your time. You need to learn to avoid them. But 80% of the questions, trust me, 80% of the questions are questions which are solvable in a very short amount of time. And you need to capitalize on them. So please remember, you need to avoid 20% and you need to attempt 80%. Don't go for 100% if you are not, so driven or you don't have that particular proficiency already. So always remember 20% of the questions, just 20%. And what we end up doing is that we end up spending a lot of time on these 20% of the questions. And we tend to kind of get absorbed in that question. We don't tend to move on. We tend to have our egos boosted because of those questions. I need to solve it. But you need to realize that you need to keep on moving. right? Please keep this Pareto principle in mind. The second objective, what should be your targets for CAT 2020 and how to achieve them? I think this is a very important topic that I'm going to discuss. And all of you, I think all of you who are attending this session, who might watch it later on, I think you guys need to pay close attention to this, because there are a few tips and tricks that I have also shared over here. So first things first, sometimes since we are mainly driven by percentile in CAT, it is very good to have an objective score also in mind. When I used to prepare for CAT, I had a good objective score of 60%, not 60 percentile, but 60% in mind, which I kind of had a good estimate is a good score in CAT. It is a safe score, no matter how much easy the paper is, no matter how difficult the paper is. If you end up scoring 60%, you are going to be in the top 1%, probably in the top 0.5%, which means you will either get 99 percentile or 99.5 percentile. So if you end up scoring 180 out of 300, or this year, since the pattern has changed and now we are having a 2-hour paper, if you end up scoring 120 out of 200, it should be a good enough score. Always remember 60% is a good score. The other thing that you need to do is that you need to have a section which I call as the superstar section. When I say a superstar section, that section is going to be the highlight of your CAT. You don't need to have 2 or 3. You can't. It is very difficult to have 3 superstars. It is for students who end up scoring an, I think, a 99.8 plus or 99.9 plus. But for us, I think if we have one superstar section wherein we sort of tend to score close to 99 or even 99.5, I think that is one section that we need. It is good that if that section is either verbal or quant, I think because you tend to score high on these 2 sections as compared to Lrdi, I think you will tend to do better than the normal crowd that is there. So always remember, you need one section which is going to be your ace in the hole, like Harvey Dent said in The Dark Knight. The third point that I want to keep, that I want you guys to keep in mind, is that it is not necessary to score a 99 plus or a 95 plus in every section for a 95 or a 99 plus overall percentile. Even if I have seen students who just end up scoring a 99 plus in one and a 95 in the other 2, but end up scoring a 98 or even close to a 99 overall. So that is what you need to keep in mind. If your aim is to score a 90 plus percent, if you end up scoring a 95 percentile in one section, trust me, it is fine, because if you score a 95 percentile in one section, and even if you score an 85 in the other 2, your overall score will be close to 90 rather than close to 85. So you need to have that one superstar section. And there's a very interesting point that I have shared here, is that you need to attempt 3 extra questions than your normal attempt. And I want to showcase this to all of you as to what do I mean by this. So here I have an Excel. I hope all of you can see this. So now let's see, what is the probability of your score in CAT if you attempt 1 extra random question? Your probability, because there are 4 options, there is only 1 correct option. So your probability of scoring a right answer if you attempt 1 extra random question, you have no clue of what the answer is, your probability of getting it right is 0.25, right? 1 by 4. And your probability of getting it wrong is 3 by 4, because there are 3 incorrect options and there is 1 correct option. So your probability of getting it wrong is 0.75 and your probability of getting it right is 0.25. Okay. Now building on that logic, let's see what happens if you attempt 2 extra questions. If you attempt 2 extra questions, we have these 4 scenarios wherein you get both of them right, you're very lucky. You get both of them wrong, or you get 1 right and 1 wrong, right? Now let's see, based on these 4 scenarios, what is the probability that you will end up scoring a positive score? By a positive score, I mean more than 0, not 0, more than 0. So here we see if in these 3 scenarios, I am scoring a more than 0 score. So this is proving beneficial for me. But what is the probability? It is 0.44. It is not even a 50% plus probability. So in more than often cases, if you attempt 2 extra random questions, you will actually lose than gain much on a 50-50 basis, right? If you attempt 4 extra random questions, now I think some of you might also see is that if you attempt more random questions, your probability of scoring a positive score will go down, because probability of getting one right answer is 0.25 and one wrong answer is 0.75. So if you score 4 extra random questions, these are the different possible scenarios that you will get, as you can see over here, right? And based on this, these are the final uh, probabilities that you have for each of these outcomes. Now, I want a score which is more than 0, because that is why I will go out of my way to attempt an extra question, right? Even a 0 is not good for me, then why would I attempt it if my score remains the same? So if you can see over here, if for a score of more than 0, these are all the possible cases. And in these possible cases, your overall probability is 0.26. It is very less. It is close to actually your single extra attempt. And this is a case that you should not go for. And if you go further, you will see that this probability will keep on reducing, which is probability of a positive score. So you should not attempt 1 extra. You should not attempt 2 extra. You should not attempt 4 or more extra. Now let's come to this scenario, which is 3 questions. These are 3 random questions that you have no idea about. You end up choosing, clicking any random option. Now, what is the probability that you get a question right? It is 0.25. What is the probability that you get a question wrong? It is 0.75. Now, if you notice clearly, in these 8 cases that are getting formed, there is only one case in which you have a negative case. Otherwise, you are on the positive side. Your score can range from 1 to 9 in positive cases and -3 in a negative case. And if you sum up the probabilities, these probabilities of a positive case, it actually comes out to be more than 0.5. It is close to 0.6. And if your probability of getting 3 random questions is more than 0.5, you can take that risk. I used to do that a lot, and it actually worked for me, because if rather than taking a completely random guess, if you have some idea of what the option can be, if you're confused between 2 options, which more often than not happens in verbal, you should attempt 3 extra random questions, because your probability is more than 0.5, and more often than not, you will at least get one of them right. And if you get one of them right, you at least add 1 mark to your score. Cool. This is a very important point that I wanted to highlight. Not many people are aware. It has mathematical credence to it, or background to it. So it does make sense mathematically, and you guys should, if you guys are not very confident in your attempt, you guys can attempt 3 random questions, because more often than not, you will gain than you will lose. Again, so coming back to the PPT, these are the 4 targets that you guys need to have in mind. A score of 60%, 1 superstar section, not important to ace all sections, just ace one and see your score, chasing that particular score that you got in that one superstar section, and then attempt 3 more questions and what you would normally attempt. Now, how to achieve these targets? First things first, see, any strategy that works for you is a good strategy. Trust me, there will be people who will say, do this, do that. You will find people who will tell you that, if your exam is in the afternoon, then try and attempting mocks in the afternoon. Not necessary. Yeah. I mean, it can work for someone, it might not work for someone. Someone is already working, they can't attempt a mock in the afternoon. They might have to attempt that mock at night or in the early morning hours. So, I mean, any strategy that works for you, you know yourself the best. So if that strategy works for you, go for it. Don't listen to anyone. Any strategy that works is a good strategy. But the second point, winners don't make the same mistake twice. And there comes the importance of mocks. See, always remember, if you're not scoring well in mocks, it is fine. But if you make a mistake in a mock once, you can't afford to make it twice. And that is why people say that mocks are very important in fact, because you can make an error in a mock once, but you can't afford to repeat that mistake because you're not learning from that error. And that is the entire purpose behind the mock, that you need to learn via practice. So how you are going to analyze a particular mock is that just don't have a look at all the mistakes that you have made. Go through the entire paper once again. See the questions, attempt the question once again without the hassle of a timer. See if your answer was correct or wrong, and see the proposed solution that is out there. Is your solution the best solution, or is there another possible solution that could have saved you more time also? So that is something that you need to keep in mind, that you need to reattempt the mock while analyzing it after you've already given it. So that is again a very important point that needs to be taken. And if you have made a mistake once in any particular topic, because if someone attempts like 10 mocks, then 10 mocks, I think let's just take the quant section, you would be attempting 340 questions in quant, right? If you're attempting 340 questions in quant, and if you've made like 100 errors in 100 questions, and if you are aware of the errors that you've made and you've already corrected yourself, trust me, it is very rare that you will not be able to attempt like 15 or 18 right questions in your final CAT attempt, because questions don't tend to deviate from each other so much that they are completely different from what they appear in your mock. If you're able to correct your errors in mock, it is only beneficial for you because you will not make that error in CAT. So there's a question from the chat that has come up is, shall we attempt all non-negatives without worry? Yeah, see, the problem with non-negatives is that it is very difficult to find out the probability of getting it right. You know, the probability of getting a non-negative right by attempting it randomly, it is 0.00001. Now, why waste time when you are not even sure of what the answer might be, just because you have 10 seconds, you mark it? What is the point? Rather than that, the strategy that I told you was for MCQs and not for theta questions. If you have MCQs, you know that out of these four, one option is correct, right? Rather than going for non-MCQs, if you have some idea that the answer can either be 100 or 1000, then okay, it makes sense to go and attempt it. But if you're not even aware, if you have no clue, so a random attempt means you have no clue, right? I don't think it makes much sense, because the probability of attempting it is actually very less. You would probably waste 10-30 seconds of your time going to attempt it. Rather than that, you can probably attempt 3 MCQ questions randomly, because the probability of getting one of them right, which will eventually fetch you a positive result, is actually high. And then there's this another question which says that I am still facing difficulty in the Lrdi section. I feel that it's in grave danger. How should I continue from here? Okay, so we will come to the section-wise analysis, I think in just a couple of minutes, and then I'll probably take this question with regard to Lrdi. Again, so first two strategies that you need to keep in mind is that any strategy that works for you is a good strategy, and don't make the same mistake twice. Please don't, because winners don't make the same mistake twice. Third point, all questions carry same marks. So don't get attached to any question because you know the topic, because you don't know the topic. It is perfectly fine. All questions should be treated alike. And like I told you in the Pareto Principle, don't get attached to those 20% questions. They will end up demoralizing you. They will end up making you think your attempt is not nice, and then they will affect you in the later sections also, right? So please, all questions carry same marks. Don't get attached to any of them. And final point is, have a plan in mind while waiting for the exam to start. So now what happens is that once you go into the examination hall, you tend to have like 15-20 minutes in your hand before the exam actually starts. Have a plan in mind. And what do I mean by a plan is that you need to have few targets that you have in your mind. Okay, that now you have 3 sections, you have 40 minutes for each section. What is the score, an ideal score for me that I want to achieve my final score of 120? Just to give you an example, I gave CAT in 2018, which was my second attempt. but something that I remember more predominantly than my previous attempt of 2017, primarily because I did not prepare much for the 2017 attempt also. So in 2018, when I gave CAT, I had a clear-cut target of of getting a score close to 180, and I knew that I need to get a score close to 65 from VRC, a score close to 65 from Lrdi because that was my superstar section, and a score close to 45 to 50 in quant, and I'm good to go, right? And I'll discuss this point as to how you need to prepare in mind before you're seated in front of the computer screen waiting for the exam to start. Have that target in your mind. Objective 2, a quick run through of CAT 2018, some tips and tricks. So what I'm going to do is that I'm not going to go through each section question by question. You already have the solutions available on different online platforms. You can easily get that. What I'm going to do is that few tips and tricks that I had in mind while I attempted CAT 2018. What was my plan today on 12th of October 2018? Not 2020, on 12th October 2018. These are the four things that I had in mind, that this is going to be my plan. I used to attempt a mock either each day or every 2 days. Given that mocks now are of 2 hours each, I think you guys can take out time to attempt a mock every day. If not, if you guys are not scoring very well, then you can attempt a mock every 2 days. It is fine, but not more than that. And you guys need to analyze it properly. And when I say analyze it properly, it means to re-attempt the mock. Then check the solutions. Match your actual solution with the solution after you re-attempted it versus the proposed solution. Find the best combination and then remember that. Then don't just move forward. Just internalize that solution so that anytime that question comes again, you're going to follow that particular procedure and you're going to attempt that question in that particular manner. That is what analysis is all about. For a 2-hour mock, the analysis should actually take you close to 3 to 3.5 hours. For a 3-hour mock, it used to take me 4 to 4.5 hours, right? But trust me, if you analyze a mock properly, it is going to be the best thing that you will do to improve your score. The next point is to score a 95 plus in every mock. See, it's not very easy because sometimes some section tends to be tough, some other section tends to be easy. So always have this target of scoring a 95 plus in every mock, and your superstar should be 99 plus. Now, for those who are, say, in the 80 percentile range, because not everyone would be in the 95 percentile range. For those who are in the 80 percentile range, always keep your target as to your mock score. Your ideal mock score should be 5 percentile away from your current score right now. So if you are 80, you should target for 85, right? And your superstar should again be more 5 percentile points away, which should be close to 90. So don't think of these figures as being very absolute. You can also have these figures on a relative basis by a 5 percentile difference, right? The next point is solve practice questions for different topics on quant. Now, quant is one particular section which has topics laid down. You need to be adept at these different topics. So what you can do apart from just the mock is that you can refer to any reference material either from a coaching institute or from any other textbook, and you can solve those practice questions on different topics. Any topic that you think you're not good at, any topic that you want to improve, which is not coming so frequently in your mocks, I think you can do that for quant specifically. And you need to start recognizing your strengths and weaknesses right now, because more often than not, we ourselves don't know what our strengths and weaknesses are. So now you need to also know, okay, this is my strength, this is my weakness, this is how I'm going to play to my strengths and avoid my weaknesses. So you need to do this from today. This is what I had in mind. And remember, October is the most important month for CAT, and not November, not September, not any other month. October is the most important month for CAT. Utilize it properly. But what was my plan on D-Day? What was my plan on the day I was I went to attempt CAT? First thing, my slot was in the afternoon. So I was lucky. I had kind of a sense to check what the paper pattern might be. So all those who get the afternoon slot, or if they are planning on 3 slots, if your slot comes after any particular slot, please have a helpful friend who can provide some color on the paper. Uh, what I did was that I asked one of my friends who had a morning slot, and he told me that Chirag, the quant section is actually very tough. The LRDI is not so tough, and VRC is just like the CAT in the previous year. So now I had a clear picture in mind of how these 3 sections are going to be, right? And once I had that in mind, I laid down my targets for each section. So once I knew that quant is going to be tough, I can't go for a 60 plus in quant. I knew that if quant is very tough, I should keep it as a reasonable score of 45 to 50. I knew that LRDI is not so tough, and LRDI is my strongest uh, section. So I had to keep it more than 60. And VRC, I was again more on the plus average side. So I kind of kept it again plus 65. You need to realize that your attempt in your CAT exam should be higher than your attempts in mocks, until and unless you already attempt more in mocks. So if you attempt close to like 80% of the questions in mocks, then don't please attempt more. Only for those who don't tend to attempt so many questions, your attempt on in the CAT paper should be more than your attempts in mocks, because CAT questions will not be as difficult as some of your mocks. They might be slightly difficult for one particular section, but whole in all, I don't think it is as difficult as some of the mocks that you might answer. So I personally think that a 75% attempt, 75 to 80% of the questions, if you attempt with an accuracy of 85% plus, that is all what you need. 80% attempt with an accuracy of 85% plus is a very, very good attempt with a very, very good accuracy, which will 100% give you a 99 percentile and a call from your top IIMs. Again, I'm being very precise, not giving you globe gyan, giving you actual numbers that you can actually work on. And final thing, while you're waiting for CAT to start, is that you need to relax. Something that I think few of you have already sent questions, is that sometimes your score improves, but since you're feeling the pressure of exam, one thing that I sort of took away with me while I was in my graduation is that you need to prepare like your life depends on it, but you need to attempt the exam like it doesn't even matter. It is very important if and when you are preparing for any exam, you need to give your heart and soul. But once you are attempting, please treat it like it doesn't even matter. If you carry that baggage with you, all of us are not Sachin Tendulkar that we will perform exceptionally under pressure. So if you don't want to take that pressure, just leave that off, right? Trust me, if you attempt it with a mindset, यार जो होगा देखेंगे, but let's just enjoy. हमने 4-5 महीने मेहनत किया, let's see आज क्या होता है. If you have that mindset, trust me, that is going to be far more helpful than, oh, if I give CAT, पता नहीं क्या होगा कल, पता नहीं what is going to be like. मेरा एक friend है, वो इतना अच्छा स्कोर कर रहा है. Don't think of all these stuff, यार. मतलब what is going to be the impact? Don't think, just relax. And this is what I had in mind during CAT. So when I attempted CAT, the VRC section generally will be easier than your mocks. Okay. I don't think they tend to give a VRC section very difficult. They have not done that in the last 4 years. I'm not too sure if they plan on doing that this year. They might, but this has been the pattern overall. So I had a target of close to 60, which I had written down in paper 62. Now, once I know that I have a target of 62, I know that I don't need to attempt 29 or 30 questions. Because if I attempt 29 or 30 questions, my chances of making an error is increased. I might make more errors and I might actually bring down my score. So I attempted 25, which was a below average attempt, right? But I knew that I'm crossing my target of 62. So what I did was that I attempted only those questions which I was 100% sure of. There were two questions I still remember. I knew the answer. My heart said, Chirag, go and attempt. This is the right answer. But since I had a 1% doubt that the answer could be something else, I did not attempt that. You know why? Because I know my target is obviously completed. I'm scoring more than 62. Why take that risk? I did not go for it. I had a score of 65.08, which is the scaled score, and I was satisfied with it. For Lrdi, I attempted 27 questions. This was my superstar section. I used to score 99 plus in the mocks. So this was kind of my my highlight section. And I did attempt 27 questions. My target was 65 because I know that this section was not so tough, and I scored 66.34, which is again reasonable. I should have scored more, but there was some error that I made myself because of the this thing of going and attempting more questions. My accuracy was not that high, but still I scored a 99.91 percentile, and it actually served the purpose, and I met my target. Now coming to QA, I did not have a very unreasonable target of scoring 60. I had a target of 42. Now guys, remember, my target was only to get net 14 questions right. 14 questions out of 34, and I'm done with that. Right? I know in my mind I've met my target for VRC. I've met my target for LRDI. When I attempted quant, let me tell you, this is CAT 2018. I skipped the first 7 questions. First 7 questions, no attempt. First 7 minutes, I did not attempt anything. I just, went about skipping questions because I know, Chirag, you need to find 14 right questions. If you get that, you're done. And what I did was that I found 18 questions. My accuracy was very high. I actually got 17 of them right. Okay. My accuracy was very high, and my final scaled score was close to 49. I met my target. I scored close to 180, and I got a percentile of 99.62. So if you have these targets in mind, you will make an informed decision. You will be able to manage your time, and you will be able to form a logical coherence of things that you're doing. These are the 3 things that the takers of CAT want you to know. And if you do that, it is better. Now, what if you're in the first slot? If you're in the first slot, then follow the strategy of knowing your strengths and weaknesses that you're already following, and then go and attempt that. And have the targets from your mocks that you have attempted, and keep that in mind, and then attempt that. I think if your slot is later on, then you can utilize that. But if it is in the morning slot, then your information is basis your performance in mocks, and not basis the information that you might derive otherwise. There's one question which has come up, which says that how can we be 100% sure in VRC, especially VA? You can be actually, if I don't think it is the proper time to say as to how to attempt a particular question. But if you know the techniques, for example, since the person has asked, especially VA. So in VA, what are the questions that you get? You either get what is the essence of the paragraph, summary of the paragraph, you get jumbled sentences, you get parajumbles, etc., right? In parajumbles, you know that there is a concept of a pair, right? A compulsory pair. Now, if you're able to identify the compulsory pair, you will be able to know ki, acha, this is probably the option that you're going. Given that that is a theta question, it becomes slightly tougher, but you still can be sure, okay, this is the opening sentence, how an opening sentence starts. I know the mandatory pair or the compulsory pair, and I know the concluding sentence. If you know these 4 points, it is more or less easy, and if they are forming a logical coherence. I think for RC, again, if you are able to, I think there are few direct questions. If you are able to find that in the comprehension given to you, you will be able to answer that. If there are few general questions like what is the tone of the author, I think if you practice more and more, you will get an idea of what the tone of the author is. You will get an idea of how to attempt those questions. But I don't think that you can't be 100% sure. You definitely can be 100% sure. And how much was your percentile in VRC and QA? My percentile in QA was close to 99. It was actually close to 98.8. And you might find it very unreasonable that my score was close to 49. But yes, the paper was very tough in 2018, and my score was close to 98.8 or 98.7. My percentile in VRC was close to, again, it was 97.8 or a 97.9. Again, close to 98, not 99 plus. So two sections were not 99 plus. One section was 99.9, but my overall percentile was 99.62, just close to 99.7. So again, you guys need to remember the importance of a superstar section. Objective 4, post-CAT dilemma. And here is my answer, because a lot of you guys ask, what if after CAT, I don't have a strong academic background, will I get any calls? They do not deserve your time until CAT. Right now, your focus is CAT. Don't distract yourself with anything apart from that. Trust me, if you score 100 percentile, you are definitely going to get a call from at least one of the IIMs. It is impossible that if you get 100 percentile and you don't get a call from any of the IIMs. It might be that you might not get a call from A, B, or C, but there will be calls that can come from L, that can come from K, that can come from I, but you will get calls. So your entire focus should be CAT. And if you have any questions pertaining to the composite score calculation of different B schools, I think InsideIIM is doing a wonderful job. They will be getting out content pertaining to this, and probably you will get that information once you give CAT. You will have a lot of time to deliberate, to ponder, to think, acha, is this the right step? Is this the wrong step? But right now, on 12th of October, till your CAT attempt, which is 45 days ahead, please don't, I think, distract yourself with such questions. They do not deserve your time right now. What you need to devote your time is giving mocks, practicing questions, and improving your score, getting more and more confident on the actual detail. Now, there are a lot of questions that came from your side, and there are a few questions which we picked up, and I think which we sort of believed sort of holistically captures the essence of the entire webinar or the session, and which we have listed down over here. I think the questions that we have been getting are also somewhat related to the questions that are coming up. So I think we will take these one by one. But before I do that, I think there are a few questions which are coming in. The first question is, do you recommend giving mocks alternate days from now? Yes, I think you should give mocks alternate days from now, because your CAT is, I think, 45 days away. If you give, and 1 week before CAT, I would not recommend you giving a mock, because then again, you would be very much puzzled by your score if it is very high or if it is very low. So if you leave out that 1 week, then probably you can only give 15 to 16 mocks right now. So you should give mocks at least every alternate day. What score should an average student in QA should aim while attempting the exam? When you say an average is a very vague description, Akshat. But I will just say that for an average student, any average student, if you're someone who is not able to get 80 percentile right now, I think you should target scoring close to 45. 15 questions net, 15 questions out of 34, less than 50%. You can do that. Trust me, an average student can do that. 15 questions, score close to 45, you can do that. What are the chances of getting into IIM ABC for a 4-year experienced professional? What should be the strategy? Again, this question is pertinent, but not today. I mean, today we are discussing CAT. Today we are not going to discuss ABC for a 4-year experienced professional who will get some points for the experience. But not today. Today, I think we're going to confine ourselves to CAT. If you have any questions pertaining to the post-CAT dilemma, I think you can reach out to the InsideIIM team, or you can reach out to me. But I think we will take this up later on, I think sometime after that. Uh, Now I think we can move to the Q&As that we have lined up over here. First up, we have what do you do if you're consistently scoring low in your books? Again, there will be people who will probably say you do this, do that. Now, since this is a very generic question, because the strategy will be different for a different individual, let's try to break this down. If you're consistently scoring low in mocks, it is because of either of the three sections or all of the three sections, right? So identify the section wherein you're scoring low and you can improve. Identify the section that you're scoring low and you think that it is the best that you can do, and identify the section where you think you're making a lot of errors and you probably can do well by being more focused or by putting in some more effort. If you're able to identify these things, you can prepare a strategy accordingly. No one is going to come here and say, अच्छा person XYZ, आप एक काम करो, आप एक strategy लो और ये आप पूरे 100 लोगों में फैला दो. That is not how things are going to work. What you guys need to do is that you need to learn to break down things. If you're scoring low, it is because of either of the three sections. Identify the section that you can improve upon, work on that, see if the scores are improving. If not, analyze it again. Analyze your previous mocks that you've already attempted once again. Yet it is not possible if you analyze and practice more than 1,000 questions that आपका score is not crossing 80 percentile. हाँ, अगर आप analyze कर रहे हो, but if you're feeling the pressure of an exam, then have that mindset. एक mock से आपके difference, आपके life में क्या difference आ रहा है? मतलब एक मॉक अगर खराब चला जाए, ऐसा तो नहीं हो रहा दैट आपका लाइफ इज गॉन वे वायर, राइट? आपका लाइफ हे वायर तो जाएगा नहीं. So just have this in mind. This is a mock. Mock may at least don't have that pressure. Cat I can still understand, but mock me, I don't think it deserves to have so much of anxiety attached to it, right? Is it okay to leave some ancillary topics like probability, set theory, PNC, or log, and focus on arithmetic, geometry, and algebra revision? So again, there are a few assumptions again, and this is what I want you guys to learn, because this is what a B school will teach you. There are a lot of assumptions which this person has already made. That topics like probability, set theory, permutation, combination, and log are ancillary topics. Are they? Might be. And focus only on arithmetic, geometry, and algebra. Arithmetic, geometry, and algebra, correct, are some of the most important topics in quant. But what generally happens is that few concepts from log is put into questions in arithmetic, in geometry, in algebra. Few concepts of permutation, combination might be there in your questions pertaining to algebra. And now if you leave out these topics completely, you might not be able to attempt questions in the topics that you're actually revising. So what you need to do is that log, I think, falls somewhat in the parameter of arithmetic. I don't know why it is put separately. Log, I think you should focus on. You should focus on topics which are, I think, relatively easier, and I'll list them down for you. Number one, profit, loss, and discount. Very easy topic. Generally, not tough questions are asked. You should focus on that. You should focus on time and work. You should focus on time, speed, and distance. If you find it difficult, then please at least do time and work. You should focus on averages, allegations, percentages, averages I've already mentioned. You should focus on algebra, number system. You should focus on some theorems like the Euler's theorem. You should focus on the remainder theorem, right? If these are the topics that you cover, I think you should be good enough. Again, geometry, few people might find it difficult. If you just leave out geometry, it is perfectly fine. Just remember, if you have a target, you need to have a proper target in mind. If your target is close to 60 marks, that means attempting close to 23, 24 questions to get a net correct score of 20, right? I think for that, you can leave out 2 to 3 topics, any of your choosing, but don't leave out a topic like number system or algebra, because those topics are mixed with other topics also. So if you can leave out geometry if your target is close to 60, but then do rest of the topics very thoroughly. But again, I hope I have answered this question, but in case you want to leave out probability, set theory, PNC, these three topics are interlinked. Yes, you can leave them out, but then you need to do log also, and you can focus on these three topics along with the topics that I mentioned. In your experience, how are mock tests different from the CAT exam in terms of pressure and mindset? See, pressure will anyway be higher in your CAT exam because you will get that feeling from your peers who are attempting, from your family who will be more prepared for your D-Day. Your mindset while you're going for CAT will also be very different. So that it is different from a mock test because I think mocks these days are happening unproctored only. So you're giving it in your home, you have all the relaxation that you might have. Probably the computer system that you're attempting your mock is also very familiar to you than it will be on your actual day. So experiences will be different, but what you need to realize is that probably the CAT exam will not be so tough as your different mocks that you have given. There will be few mocks which will be tougher than CAT. There will be few mocks which would be easier than CAT. And CAT will lie somewhere in between. So account for those contingencies. यार what ऐसा भी हो सकता है that you might lose out 2 to 3 minutes because system में कुछ issue आ गया. So account that in. वो सब account करने के बाद I think CAT is not so tough as the toughest mock that you have attempted, but it is not probably the easiest or easier than the easiest mock that you have attempted till date. Mindset will be different because you will be under pressure. So वो चीजें तो रहेंगी. But because paper easy आता है generally, I think your score tends to be closer to your mock or probably higher than your mock attempts. What are some things that an aspirant can do in the last 45 days to CAT? Yeah, I've already listed down the points that you need to do right now. And what would you suggest? I've already suggested the points that are there. Won't go them. Again, there are a lot of questions to cover also. How do you stay motivated after a low or unexpected mock test score? Good question. There have been cases where even I have scored less than I think 90 percentile in one of the mocks. What I did was I analyzed it even more because it was there's a very, I think sayings tend to become very cliche, but it's very important. You don't learn from your successes, you learn from your failures more. And all the mocks in which I scored probably a 99 plus, I did not learn as much as I learned from that one mock. Because I know that before that mock, I did not even realize that such a situation was possible. That I could probably score less than a 90 percentile. But after that mock, I came to realize that yes, this scenario or this case that we have in Lrdi is also possible. So I realized that and I kind of took it in a positive way. If I have made 30 errors in this particular mock, I will ensure that these are the 30 errors that I will not make in the final CAT. And that is how you will stay motivated. Just think of the positive side here. If you're scoring I think there was someone who had posted you're scoring a 65 percentile, right? If you're scoring a 65 percentile, you're making a lot of errors. Find out those errors. Give them a lot of time and make sure you don't repeat them. If you do that, trust me, you will stay motivated. Your next attempt will be better. And then you will probably feel कि अच्छा चलो ये जो मैंने mock दिया ये actually worth it था by scoring a low score. What were your mock test scores? Yeah, my mock test scores were closer to 99 and I think some of them were closer to 95, some of them were closer to 99. But yes, I think it was closer to what I finally got in my CAT attempt. How many tests did you take? How many mock tests did I take? I took close to, I think 20 to 25 mock tests overall in 2018. How did you deal with the stress of an exam like that? Again, I've already covered this, that since I have had an habit of giving a lot of exams, I think I did not feel as much stress, but I more kind of enjoyed it. So I never took CAT as a very stressful exam. So I think I did not face much of the stress per se, but yeah, I think in terms of scoring a 99 plus, I think I always used to keep on analyzing and thinking कि अच्छा what if I do this, what if I do that, क्या मेरा score 5 marks से improve हो सकता है and I am able to make that leap. So these are the things that used to come to my mind. How did you analyze mock tests? Again, I've already told you a 3-hour mock test should take you close to 4.5 hours to analyze. So a 2-hour mock test should take you close to 3 hours to analyze. Reattempt that mock once again. मतलब VR से I can understand आपको थोड़ा सा issue आ सकता है. QA and LRDA तो you'll enjoy more only after reattempting. I think you should reattempt the mock. Think of the 3 cases. One where you don't have a time constraint, one you have a time constraint, and the proposed solution. Find out the best, internalize it, and then take the next attempt. What was your approach to make the most of every single mock test? Again, like I told you, more the errors you make, more you learn. How do you maximize your score in VA and RC? How do you maximize your score in VA and RC? See, VA and RC is one section where you don't have an objective answer. LRDI, there's an objective answer. QA, there's an objective answer. But when I say there's not any objective answer, what I essentially mean is that a question might have an answer that might be right to me, but might not be right to the other person who has set the paper. Now, how do you maximize your score? What you need to do is that you need to read. Because the more you read, the more perspectives you will get. You will have your own perspective on life, but you don't have the perspective of different individuals. And what you need to do is that you need to read from diverse topics. You just can't, अच्छा, if you're interested in politics, मैं कोई politics का article आया on any random news app that you have or on any newspaper that you read, just don't read that section of politics. You need to read science, you need to read history, you need to read arts, you need to read technology, because the more you'll read, the more perspectives you will get and the more you will realize कि अच्छा ऐसा भी हो सकता है. And if you do that, your scores will improve than what they currently are if you don't read already. For VA, this was for RC. For VA, what I would recommend is that there are a lot of video solutions that are available for previous CAT year papers, right? There are a lot of solutions, video solutions that are offered for different mock tests also. Always have a habit of watching video solutions more than the proposed solution, because you will understand the mindset of the person who has given that solution. So that is more helpful for VA. And there are again few concepts like a mandatory pair that I mentioned. There are opening sentences logic. There are logics for why this option will be the essence of the paragraph, why not the other one. So you need to sort of be more focused in VRC than in LRD or mock. And sometimes we tend to not take that very seriously. But I think if you do these things, you should be able to maximize your score. What were your sectional attempts and accuracy? I think I've already done that. So now let's take few questions which are there in the YouTube chat, which I have already received. There's one question wherein someone asks, what about if a guy has an average background 75%, could he make to IMA? If yes, can he bolster his profile? Yes, you can make it to IMA, but this is not a question for today. What would you suggest to a consistent 90 percentile scorer in mock whose only problem seems to be time management? If you're a consistent 90 percentile scorer in mock and your problem is time management, then what you need to realize is the Pareto Principle that I have already mentioned. This is what you need to be doing. You are somewhat getting stuck in these 20% of the questions. You need to probably, if there are 15 questions, you're probably putting more effort in 5 questions. You need to get out of that. You need to start attempting the right question, not just attempting any question. So that is one important thing about CAT, is that you need to know which is the right question and which is not the right question to attempt. Also, my mock analysis approach or strategy I've already shared. I think there is nothing out of the blue, or there's no... If you guys have watched Kung Fu Panda, there's a very interesting concept in Kung Fu Panda. You know, everyone in the first movie was after the scroll, that there's some secret power. And when that secret power is revealed, they come to know that there is no power at all. trust me, there is no secret ingredient to success. I'm not going to tell you anything which is going to be so out of the blue that no one of you already know it. There are people who have made careers out of selling that secret ingredient, but let them sort of make their own careers. There is, trust me, no secret ingredient to success apart from hard work. People sometimes call it smart work, but trust me, hard work is the only true ingredient to success. I am becoming weak in quants after mocks also. Please give me some tips to improve my score. Again, like I told you, mocks is one section where you need to keep practicing questions apart from mock also. So there are topics, different topics that are already laid down. And what you need to do is that you need to attempt those questions from any book or any material that you have apart from the mocks that you are attempting, and you need to improve your topic wise proficiency also. Should we attempt all non-negatives? I've already answered. I am still facing difficulty in the Lrdi section. I feel that it is in grave danger. How should I continue from here? See, Lrdi is a very interesting section, and I will share some of my theory, because I used to always score a 99.5 plus even in my mocks in Lrdi. So Lrdi is a section wherein you don't get an immediate answer. So for example, in both in VA, not RC, but VA and in QA, you can get 1 or 2 questions right after 5 to 6 attempts. But what happens in Lrdi is that you either get 3 to 4 questions all right at one go, which takes close to 8 to 10 minutes. So what you need to do actually is that you need to sort of have that trust and patience. First and most important thing is that कि आपको पहले 3-4 मिनट में right answer नहीं मिलेगा, but have that confidence to persevere. ये हो गया जो generic बात है, which is different in LRDI as compared to the other 2 sections. The other thing is LRDI में, trust me, papers are available. If you attempt the last 5 years के paper for LRDI, trust me, आपका score बहुत ज़्यादा improve हो जाएगा. मतलब if you're scoring a 40-50 percentile, आपका 80 तो पहले ही आ जाएगा, ठीक है. But when you attempt ना, you need to realize कि there is no formula to mug up in LRDI. तो if you are in the habit of mugging up formulas, आप formula बस याद करो, कोई question आया, आप उस question को मत समझो और आप बस formula डाल दो, then you're not going to score well. But if you know कि अच्छा this is the question, if you're able to conclude what the sentence is trying to say, because LRDI के का जो आंसर होगा वो क्वेश्चन नहीं है. What you need to do is you need to infer the information that has been given you correctly so that you can find out the answer. And if you have developed that habit of finding the right conclusion from the sentence that you are reading, you will do well. That is all I think that is there in LRDI. The rest of the questions I think I have already attempted. I think there is just one question that is there. Do you think that practicing more DILR questions can improve our confidence and accuracy? Yeah, more than practicing, just I think if you analyze and if you understand questions, if you understand the different topics that are there, I think you will improve far more than just randomly aankh band karke attempt karna. Because LRDI mein, trust me, one thing that is very different from other sections is that LRDI का हर question, every line has an inference which you need to make. Every line of the question is there for a reason. It is there because they need to fall into your solution. And if you have developed a habit of concluding accurately what the sentence is trying to say, you will do well. Then there is a question. I literally panic in mocks. How do I overcome this? Okay, so when I analyze my mock, I am able to attempt good number of questions, but during mock, I could not just perform. I literally panic in my mocks. How do I overcome this? So yeah, one thing that I will recommend, that if you are sort of kind of facing this trouble of कि यार mock में क्या होगा, you're facing so much of stress, then you need to sit back and ask yourself कि what is that trouble actually giving you? Is that trouble worth it or is that trouble not worth it? I think अगर आप इतना trouble ले रहे हो, your score is actually going down, then you need to first of all, sit back, relax, and stop fidgeting about something that is there 2 months prior. Yeah, say 45 days dur hai. Focus on what is at hand right now. Focus on that you need to improve your score right now, and then you can sort of think of going that far. So I think if you are able to do that, I think you should be good enough. So I think there are no more questions right now. So I think that was all from my side, guys. Thank you. I think we kept it. We were quite punctual with this. I think 10 minutes delay is justified. And all the best to all of you who are going to attempt CAT. If there are any questions pertaining to CAT per se, you can reach me out on LinkedIn, or you can connect with any of the InsideIIM teams. I think they are all, we are all out here to help you, and hope all of you are able to ace CAT very well. So thank you once again for joining us for this webinar, and I hope you were able to take something out of this session. Thank you so much.